The resurrected tank was assigned a new crew, a young driver who had never faced German armor, a gunner whose training shots far outnumbered his combat ones, a loader who carried photographs of his newborn daughter, a commander who had lost half his previous platoon in 2 days. They entered the tank with steady, deliberate movements. Not excitement. Not fear. Recognition. Some machines demanded respect. This one demanded silence. They advanced toward the crossroads at 1,400 hours. Snow drifted across the open ground. Wind carried faint engine noise from the ridge ahead. German engines. The battalion dug in. The resurrected tank held the center. Then German artillery broke the tree line. Not a probing shot. A pattern. A range walk. Forward by increments. Decisive. The American infantry flattened into the ditches. The tanks lowered their guns. The buried tank did not move. Its engine idled with a disciplined hum. A Panther emerged first. Then 2 more. Then a Tiger behind them, its 88mm gun swinging with the confidence of a predator that knew exactly what it could kill. The American commander called range. The gunner adjusted. The loader braced. The buried tank fired first. The shell hit the Panther's glacis. No penetration, but enough force to stall it. Enough to freeze the German formation for 5 seconds. 5 seconds on a battlefield is an hour. The tank fired again and again. Deliberate shots, each one measured by angle and armor thickness. The 4th shell hit the Panther's turret ring and locked it. The Tiger returned fire. The 88mm shell screamed across the valley and struck the resurrected tank's frontal plate. The impact sounded like a hammer hitting a cathedral bell, but the shell ricocheted. Angle. Steel. Luck. The crew stabilized themselves. No cheering. No panic. They simply adjusted, as if surviving an 88mm hit was a scheduled part of their afternoon. The commander ordered a 2-meter shift left. Not retreat. A correction. A refusal to present the same angle twice. German infantry surged between the tanks. Panzerfaust teams sprinted low across the snow. Machine gun squads formed in the ruins of a barn. The resurrected tank's guns answered. Koch's word. Hull gun rattled. Brass, raining across the floor plates. But the German line pushed harder. A counterattack with direction, not chaos. Purpose. The Americans felt it in their bones. This advance knew exactly where to hit. Exactly which crossroads mattered. Exactly how thin the U.S. armor was here. The buried tank became the hinge. The Tiger struggled to rotate its turret, its jammed mechanism, groaning in frustration until its crew bailed out and crawled for cover. The German infantry pressed closer. A Panzerfaust operator appeared at 30 yards. Too near for the main gun. Too fast for the Kochs. The commander grabbed the hull-mounted 30, leaned through the vision slot, and fired a short burst. The threat collapsed. Still, the Germans advanced. The American line was bending. Artillery on both sides cut the valley into grids of fire. The crossroads shook. The air thickened with burnt propellant. Inside the resurrected tank, the gunner called targets. The loader moved like a metronome. The driver kept the engine riding just short of redline. The commander tracked movement with the patience of a surgeon. Only now did they understand the tank's real design. Not extra speed. Not extra armor. Not extra firepower. Endurance. Reinforced suspension to absorb repeated hits. Extra bracing around the turret ring. Heat shielding along the engine compartment. An oversized torque transfer housing. Mantlet framing thicker than any standard Sherman. It was built to keep firing when other tanks stopped. Built to remain operational after conditions would normally force withdrawal. Built to stay in the fight longer than doctrine expected. It was a buried reserve precisely because it was a long-game machine. German artillery shifted again, walking fire toward the American center. The commander interpreted the pattern. He ordered another small correction. Never retreating. Always adjusting. The field was quiet when the first boot struck the frost. Not silent. Just quiet in the way winter fields on the front sometimes were quiet because everything dangerous was still out of sight. The patrol from the 4th Armored Division moved in a staggered line across the shallow valley. Snow clung to their cuffs. Breath pooled into clouds. The village behind them, half burned, half abandoned, leaned against the gray horizon like a tired witness. They had been sent to secure the crossroads ahead. Nothing more. Nothing clever. Nothing dramatic. Then the point man stopped. He felt it before he saw it. A soft depression in the ground. A rectangular shape beneath thin ice. Edges too straight to be natural. Soil, too, freshly packed for a place that had not been farmed since the fall. He knelt and brushed away snow with his glove. Beneath it, steel. Cold. Dull. Wrong. The rest of the patrol formed a circle, rifles angled outward, eyes scanning the tree line. The Ardennes had taught them that quiet places were often staging grounds for sudden violence. But this was different. The ground sagged in a way that suggested weight, enormous weight, just below the surface. The shovel hit metal on the third strike. A muted clang. A buried echo. Not debris. Not wreckage. Not a shell casing. A hatch. They worked faster. Mud peeled back in heavy slabs. Frost cracked. A turret rim emerged. Then a mantlet. Then the blunt nose of a gun barrel clogged with dirt. One of the mechanics crouched and scraped away grime until numbers appeared. U.S. Serial. Manufactured 1944. Modified depot. It was a tank. An M4 variant. But not destroyed. Not abandoned. Not scavenged. Deliberately buried. The question spread through the platoon with the same speed as the cold. Who buried a functional tank? Why here? When? And most urgently, was it still alive under the soil? The lieutenant ordered a perimeter. Engineers arrived with picks and cables. The villagers watched from a distance, whispering. One old man approached and said he remembered trucks in this field months earlier, American trucks. He remembered floodlights at night. He remembered the ground being shaped into a perfect rectangle. But he did not know who led the detail. He only remembered one sentence he overheard. No one can capture what they can't find. By noon, the tank was half exposed. The armor was intact. The tracks unbroken. The turret sealed. Then they opened the engine deck. Warm air escaped. Not hot, just warm enough to prove insulation. Fresh grease coated the machinery. No corrosion. No sabotage. Wiring intact. This wasn't buried to die, the mechanic said. This was buried to wait. The order from headquarters came within the hour. Restore it, quietly. Make it run. Do not ask questions. They replaced the oil, flushed the coolant, connected salvaged batteries from the village. The lieutenant climbed onto the hull, gave a single nod. The mechanic hit the starter. The tank woke on the fourth attempt. A deep, mechanical exhale. A vibration rolling through frozen soil. Exhaust rising like a ghost. The buried tank breathed again. They had not known yet that the machine came from a short-lived experimental program abandoned earlier that year. A program based on a simple, strange idea. If a battlefront cannot be reinforced fast enough, hide the reinforcement under the ground. A reserve force beneath the earth. A secret weapon that could not be scouted. A machine designed to outlast terrain, weather, retreat, and defeat. The tank fired until the breech glowed. The cokes overheated twice. The turret motors strained under cold and recoil. But it held. By the time American reinforcements arrived, Shermans cresting the ridge, half-tracks kicking up snow, infantry running through the smoke, the German advance had stalled, not collapsed. Just slowed enough for the hinge to hold. The buried tank sat at the center of the crossroads. Gun smoking, snow melting on its armor, engine humming with the stubborn rhythm of a machine that refused to obey its original fate. Headquarters arrived 2 hours later, not to praise, not to debrief, to document. They photographed the reinforcements, the unconventional weld seams, the bracing patterns, the suspension stress indicators. They spoke in low tones near the tank's hull. Prototype program, shelved too early. Field resilience exceeded design tests. Proof of concept, accidental but undeniable. The crew listened from inside. They understood the subtext. Their tank was never supposed to fight again. Never supposed to be unburied. Never supposed to become the hinge of a battle. But war does not ask permission to change plans. The resurrected tank fought 2 more engagements before mechanical fatigue forced its retirement. Engineers discovered fractures in the mantlet frame, warping along the torsion bars, hairline cracks in the turret bracing. The tank had given everything it could give. It was removed from the line quietly. No ceremony. No reports circulated outside the battalion. No official recognition. The tank that had been buried disappeared again. Decades later, survivors of the Crossroads battle told the same story, with different details. Weather exaggerated, distances blurred, smoke thickened or thinned, but one element always remained constant. A machine built, buried, forgotten, woke up at the exact moment it was needed. Not legendary, not mythical, just real. America's secret weapon that day was not new steel or superior doctrine. It was something older, more primitive, more human. The instinct to prepare for a future you cannot yet see. The instinct to hide strength where the enemy will not look. The instinct to endure in silence until the moment action becomes unavoidable. War celebrates speed, shock, and aggression. But sometimes history turns on something quieter. A tank asleep under 6 months of frozen soil. A machine designed to outlast doubt. A weapon reclaimed by necessity. What the earth tried to claim, the war forced back to its feet. And in that moment, on that crossroads, under that gray sky, what waits beneath the surface can change everything above it.